The hidden side of life after spiritual awareness, what no one ever tells you. Until now, the night I spiritually awakened, I didn't feel peace. I didn't feel bliss. I felt like the entire world I had known was collapsing into dust. You always hear that spiritual awareness is like arriving in paradise. That once you wake up, life becomes a constant stream of love, light, and gratitude. But that's not what happened to me. Let me take you back to the moment everything began to crack. I was meditating under a moonlit sky, breathing slowly, my thoughts evaporating into the silence. Then something shifted. It wasn't gradual. It was like someone tore down a curtain in my mind. In that one moment, I saw everything for what it truly was. The lies, the illusions, the endless chasing. And then came the silence. Not peaceful silence, but a silence that roared louder than thunder. A silence that told me, everything you've built has been based on a dream. It was like being unplugged from the Matrix. Except the Matrix wasn't a movie. It was my job, my identity, my attachments, my beliefs. And they all crumbled. You see, spiritual awareness isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of the real one. And what lies on the other side? No one tells you. If you've clicked on this video, I'm not here to entertain you with fluff or cliches. I'm about to walk you through something most spiritual influencers won't dare touch, the dark, beautiful, terrifying, enlightening side of life after you awaken. You'll learn things here that most people spend decades trying to discover, if they ever do. But be warned, what I'm about to show you will change the way you see everything. Forever. Right after my awakening, I felt a sense of nothingness so vast, it almost broke me. I walked into my room and looked at the walls, the books, the clothes, and none of it meant anything. It was like I had stepped out of a dream and into a desert. That desert? That's the beginning. And if you're still with me, it means you're either already in it, or you're brave enough to see what's waiting. Because once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. I tried drowning myself in distractions, in social media, in relationships, even in new spiritual practices. But nothing gave me that sweet illusion of certainty anymore. Because I had seen behind the veil. I had seen that most of what we call reality is nothing more than collective hypnosis. And now, I was alone. But here's the twist no one expects: the loneliness after awakening is not a punishment. It's an invitation. One night, I met a strange man in a dream. He wasn't a teacher. He wasn't even human. At least not in the way we define humans. His eyes were like black holes, absorbing light and truth at the same time. He told me, "You must let everything rot so something real can grow." And then I woke up to find 3 words scratched into my journal. Words I didn't write: burn, bury, bloom. It was as if my soul had begun writing its own story. And that's when the real transformation began. I started losing more than just possessions. I lost relationships. I lost comfort. I lost my previous ambitions. People told me I was acting weird, too intense, not the same. And they were right. I wasn't. I had stopped living life by the rules of the sleeping. But in their eyes, I was malfunctioning. I want you to think about something. Really think. What would happen if you could no longer pretend? If every mask you wore suddenly cracked in two? If your smile no longer covered your sadness? If your plans no longer impressed you? Would you fall apart? Or would you finally become free? Because that's what life after spiritual awareness does. It forces you to choose between illusion and truth. And here's the thing, the truth doesn't feel good at first. The truth rips your comfort apart. The truth makes you weep for the years you spent asleep. But the truth also sets you on fire with a kind of peace that can never be taken away. There's a hidden side to awakening that no one dares to speak about because it's too raw, too uncontrollable, too sacred. But I'm not afraid to go there. Because you need to know, awakening isn't the end of suffering. It's the end of avoidable suffering. The kind caused by ignorance. What comes after? is the real test, because now you know. Now you see. And when you see, you can't unsee. One evening, while walking alone through an abandoned field, I saw something that shattered me. It was just a dead tree, twisted and blackened by fire. But when I got close, I noticed a single green shoot, fresh, fragile, growing from a broken branch. And suddenly I heard a voice. Not from the sky, not from the tree, but from within my own chest. It whispered, even in death, life insists on being born again. I fell to my knees. I wept, not because of sorrow, but because I realized I was the tree, and something new was trying to be born from my ruins. That's the hidden side. Awakening doesn't complete you. It destroys who you thought you were. So the real you can rise from the ashes. But be warned, what rises doesn't fit into this world. You won't be able to go back to small talk, shallow desires, meaningless goals. You will crave only what is real. And the world? It won't understand you. But that's okay. Because you weren't born to be understood. You were born to become true. So now I ask you, who are you? Without your name, your career, your memories, your stories? Strip all of it away. What's left? Whatever remains. That's what life after spiritual awareness is all about. You ready to go deeper? Because the next part, it will change the way you breathe. This one moment shattered my mind and made me see through time. I wasn't dreaming. At least I don't think I was. But I remember it clearly. More clearly than I remember yesterday. I was lying still in bed, my eyes wide open, unable to move. The room was quiet. But not normal quiet. It was electric. Time felt paused. Everything frozen in a sacred silence. And then, without any warning, the walls of my room began to dissolve. Not fall. Not melt. Dissolve. Like vapor fading into light. Suddenly, I was no longer in my room. I was in a vast, empty space, made of awareness itself. It wasn't light or dark. It wasn't a place. It was something beyond all concepts. And in the center of it stood me. But it wasn't the me I knew. This version of me didn't have a face. No gender. No identity. No fear. It was pure presence. Just knowing. Just being. And then it looked directly at me and spoke. Not with words, but with a vibration that rang through every cell in my body. You're not a person. You are the experience of God. Dreaming of limitation. The moment it said that, images exploded around me. Not visions. Not hallucinations. Memories. But not from this life. I saw myself as a warrior holding a flaming sword. As a monk chanting in silence. As a mother holding her child beneath a burning sky. I saw lifetimes flash like lightning. Joy. Grief. Enlightenment. Insanity. And in that instant, I remembered. I had lived hundreds of lives. I had loved and lost over and over. I had risen to power and fallen into dust. And through it all, I had always been trying to remember this one truth. That I am not this body. I am the awareness behind it. But just as quickly as it came, it all vanished. I woke up gasping, tears streaming down my face. It felt like I had returned from a 1,000-year journey in the span of 5 minutes. And ever since then, nothing has felt quite real. Because once you see through time, the illusion of permanence dies. Most people live as if life is fixed. As if their problems are forever. Their routines sacred. Their possessions important. But when you realize you've lived and died more times than you can count, you stop clinging. You stop panicking. You start listening. That was my second awakening. Not a shattering this time, but an unveiling. A remembering. A gift. Wrapped in terror and wonder. Because life after spiritual awareness doesn't just show you the illusion of your current life. It starts unraveling your belief in linear time itself. You start having conversations with people, and knowing what they're about to say. You walk into rooms and sense the energy before anyone speaks. You begin noticing synchronicities, numbers, symbols, phrases, lining up like the universe is whispering in code. Have you ever looked at a stranger and felt like you knew them? That's not your imagination. That's your soul recognizing a familiar frequency across the veil of time. And the deeper you go, the weirder it gets. I began hearing a hum in silence. At first, I thought I was going mad. But then I realized. It wasn't in my ears. It was in my being, a vibration that seemed to pulse from everything. I followed it, meditated with it, sang into it. And eventually, I began to hear music in the wind. Patterns in the rain. Whispers in the trees. This world isn't dead matter. It's alive. Every leaf. Every breath. Every grain of sand carries memory. Carries intelligence. And when you wake up, it begins to speak to you. I'll never forget the time I walked past a river and heard it say, "We are alike. You must keep moving, or you will rot." That wasn't poetic inspiration. That was guidance, because life after spiritual awareness becomes a dialogue. You're no longer just a player in the world. You become a co-creator in it. But here's the kicker, with great awareness comes great collapse. The more you remember, the more the ego suffers. Because it knows its days are numbered. You'll start to feel an inner war between who you were and who you're becoming. 1 minute, you'll feel divine, untouchable, infinite. The next, you'll feel scared, small, broken. And both are true, because the bridge between illusion and truth is made of fire. And you must walk through it barefoot. But let me tell you something beautiful. And please, hear this with your heart. You are not alone. Every pain you feel, someone has felt. Every question you ask, someone has cried out into the sky. And in the unseen, there are forces. Call them angels, guides, ancestors, watching you, cheering for you, walking with you through the storm. The other night, I had a dream again. This time, it wasn't a stranger. It was my grandmother, long gone from this earth. She didn't speak. She just touched my shoulder and nodded. And I knew she saw me. She had awakened too, long ago. And now she was helping me from the other side. Life after spiritual awareness doesn't make you perfect. It makes you real. It makes you humble. It makes you feel the sacredness in every single thing. A cracked mug becomes a reminder of impermanence. A long silence with a friend becomes deeper than words. Even your suffering becomes holy. I remember one night, collapsing to the floor in tears. I had no idea why. The sadness came like a wave from nowhere. And then, I felt it, collective grief. The pain of millions. Not mine, but ours. That's what happens when your awareness expands. You don't just awaken to your truth. You awaken to our truth. You feel what the earth feels. What the forgotten feel. What the broken hearts of the world have never dared speak aloud. And somehow, instead of crushing you, it opens your heart wider than you thought possible. Because life after spiritual awareness is not about escaping suffering. It's about becoming large enough to hold it with grace, to alchemize it, to be the one who remembers love, even when everything else forgets. So I ask you again, and this time more urgently, if you're no longer your body, if you're no longer your past, if time is an illusion, if the world is a mirror, what are you? Not who, but what? Let the question echo. Don't rush to answer. Because the moment you stop trying to name it, you'll start to feel it, the real you. And I promise, when you meet that presence fully, you'll never want to go back to anything less. This journey we're on, it's not safe. It's not easy. It's not marketable, but it is real. And that makes it the most beautiful adventure of all. Keep going, because in the next part of this journey, I'm going to show you something most people never dare to talk about, the moment when you meet the divine. Not as an idea, not as a symbol, but as a living presence inside your own body. You don't want to miss this. When God stepped inside my skin, everything changed. I didn't believe it at first. Honestly, I thought I was hallucinating. How could something so immense, so impossible, be happening inside me? But there I was, on the floor. Eyes closed, no incense, no chanting, no ritual, Just silence. Just presence. Just breath. And then it happened. It didn't come like thunder. It came like warmth. Like golden fire pouring down my spine. But with no heat. Only knowing. It started at the base of my body and rose slowly. Deliberately. Like a sacred wind climbing a forgotten staircase. As it moved upward, I could feel my identity. My name. My history. My traumas. Evaporating, layer by layer. And when it reached my heart, I stopped breathing because suddenly, I wasn't there anymore. God was, but not in the way I had imagined. Not a distant figure in the sky. Not a glowing being surrounded by clouds. No, God was me. Not my ego. Not my personality. But the consciousness behind it. It was like meeting the architect of your soul. And realizing the architect isn't separate. It's the one who's been breathing you. Living you. Being you this entire time. That moment changed everything. Because when you feel God not as an idea, but as your own essence, the search ends. The striving ends. The pretending ends. You don't need anyone to validate your worth. You are the worth. You don't need a purpose. You are the purpose. You don't even need answers. Because you become the stillness beneath every question. And then, just like that, it was gone. The warmth faded. The breath returned. I opened my eyes. The room looked the same. But I didn't. Something had settled deep inside me. A seed. A knowing. A silent flame that would never go out. That's the hidden side of spiritual awareness no one prepares you for, the indwelling presence. The divine not as a visitor, but as your core. And from that moment on, I started living differently. I no longer chased peak experiences. I started noticing the ordinary as sacred. The way a bird sings without needing applause. The way the sky shifts colors at dawn without asking permission. The way an old man smiles at a child like he remembers something lost. Every moment became an opportunity to remember God in motion. But this awareness doesn't make you invincible. In fact, it makes you vulnerable in the most beautiful way. You feel everything more. You feel heartbreak deeper. Not because you're weak, but because your heart is wider. You cry at sunsets. You mourn forgotten corners of the world. You see the divine in beggars and billionaires alike. And sometimes, you ache so hard for the world's healing. You wonder if your heart might break from carrying it all. But here's the mystery, it never does. Because your heart, once opened by the divine, becomes infinite. It expands beyond what you thought was possible. And your capacity to love, even in the face of betrayal, injustice, or cruelty, becomes supernatural. I've looked into the eyes of people who hated me, and seen their innocence underneath. I've forgiven things I never thought I could. And not because I'm noble, but because once you've touched the eternal, you can no longer cling to the temporary. You understand, everyone is just trying to wake up, even when they hurt you. It's from sleep. And you don't need revenge. You don't need control. You just need presence. Because in presence, everything heals. I was walking through a cemetery once, alone, when I heard something again. Not with ears, but inside. Everyone here thought they had more time. I stood still. The sun was setting, casting gold on the tombstones. And I wept. Not for fear of death, but for the tragedy of never living while alive. You see, spiritual awareness isn't about escaping the world. It's about finally entering it fully. With your eyes wide open. With your heart unarmed. To eat with gratitude. To love with abandon. To speak truth even when your voice shakes. To walk through life not as a victim of it, but as a conscious participant in the divine play. And yes, the world might still call you crazy. But you won't care, because the deeper you go, the more you realize. This is what you came here for. Not to accumulate, not to perform, but to remember, to burn with truth, to taste the mystery, to give yourself fully to this moment. Because in the end, that's all there is. So now, I ask you one last question. And I ask it not from me to you, but from the divine within me to the divine within you. What are you waiting for? Permission? A sign? A guarantee? You've already been chosen. You're already enough. You are the portal. You are the prayer. You are the answered call. So don't wait. Begin. Live like you've already arrived. Because on the hidden side of life after spiritual awareness, there is no more seeking, only being. And if you truly be fully now, then the entire universe bends around you like a bow to an arrow, ready to launch you into destiny. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your life. And now you finally know what to do with it. Let go. Open your arms. Step into the fire of truth. And become the living flame. Because when God steps inside your skin, you stop surviving. And start remembering you were always eternal. Some people fear the end of the world. But the real revolution is the end of illusion. Comment below what awakened in you. And remember, your story is part of the greater unfolding truth.